What is up, fellas? We are back for another UFC video, and UFC 308 just concluded. So we're going to be doing a recap for the entire card and just breaking down the fights and how they transpired. We did pretty good on this card, all things considered. I was worried it might be kind of 50-50-ish because I did take some dogs, some big dogs on the main card, and that didn't quite pan out. So all in all, I think we went 9-4 on picks, which, considering I took some pretty big underdogs, I'm pretty content with. And this card was really fun. There was a lot of really good fights. So yeah, let's jump right in and talk about them. Kicking us off at welterweight, Renan took on Carlos Leal. Guys, if you see me look down, I have some notes here that I wrote down during the fight. So if you see me look down, that's why. For this fight, I thought Renan would win a decision here by being able to mix up his takedowns and land shots on the feet as he needed to, and would be able to control Carlos Leal in the grappling because Carlos Leal took this fight on short notice. Now, what I hadn't considered is that Renan is kind of bad. And Carlos Leal is on more steroids than the entire Russian Olympic weightlifting team. That guy had acne. That guy was literally more acne than man. But I digress. It was a really fun fight from both guys. Carlos Leal gave a really great account of himself in all 3 rounds of this fight. Was landed, honestly, the better shots on the feet. And you can see by the stats, 2 for 19 on takedowns from Renan. Renan really didn't have shit for him. He landed good shots, but when Carlos Leal landed, Renan kind of, gave a reaction to the shots when Leal landed. And when Renan landed, Carlos Leal was like, nah, bro, I'm on D-ball. I'm on trend. I don't feel that shit, and just kept throwing. Honestly, this is one of the worst robberies I've seen. I picked for Kretnov by decision, and he did win by decision. I don't think he won this fight, really. On my notes, I said maybe you can cope and give Renan 1-3. But I don't think so. I really don't think he won this fight. And the 30-27 scorecards for this fight is one of the worst I've ever seen. Hold on, actually. I thought this was funny. 1 second. I just want to check something. A guy named Hadi Mohammed Ali is the guy who gave Renan a 30-27. Well, that's what I'll say. There was some home cooking here in this fight. Moving up to middleweight, Ismail Naurdiev took on Bruno Silva. I picked Ismail Naurdiev by decision, and largely that is how the fight played out. I don't even know what I'm saying. Ismail Naurdiev was just better than Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva didn't look like he wanted to be there. He was never switched on in any of the 3 rounds. He looked slow. He looked lethargic. Couldn't land a shot on the feet if you paid him in any of the rounds, really. And Naurdiev, despite, I think his level, I don't think it's that high, but he looked great in this fight. His hand speed was fast. He didn't gas out in any of the rounds. Mixed it up really well. And just dominated the fight, really. Bruno Silva had absolutely nothing for Naurdiev in any facet of this fight. It was a clean sweep for Naurdiev. Good performance by him. Welcome back to the UFC. Moving up to, I guess, featherweight, Farid Basharat took on Victor Hugo. Now, this was a fun fight. Now, obviously, you got to highlight the 10-pound fucking weight miss for Victor Hugo. It's insane how unprofessional that is. But the fight was really fun. It was really high level. It was more of Farid Basharat's footwork and speed versus the danger factor of Victor Hugo. And despite Victor Hugo losing this fight unanimously, he did show that he is dangerous as fuck. He's one of the only guys, I think, that can roll for a leg lock and you're actually in danger. Like, he was latching that up fast on Basharat. And Hugo is a big, strong dude with a good chin. I think he honestly might need to move up a weight division. But Farid Basharat really just got the better of him on the feet, mixed it up really well when he needed to, and the last round dominated. it was a really clean performance from Basharat. I picked Farah Basharat by decision, and that's exactly what happened. He won a decision, just mixing it up and being composed on the feet and in the grappling, and not getting worried when Victor Hugo maybe caught him with a big shot or got a submission attempt on him. So, really good performance from Farah Basharat. He needed this win because if he lost to Victor Hugo after that 10-pound weight miss, that would have felt like absolute shit for him if he lost his 13-0 record like that. Moving up to the heavyweight fight, the lone heavyweight fight on the card, absolute meme fight, Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. I picked Kennedy Nzechukwu by TKO, and there you go. I also picked Kennedy Nzechukwu by TKO. I specifically said knees to the body, and he is how he would win this fight. And technically, that is how he won the fight, but Chris Barnett, I don't know if he hurt himself during his intro where he jumped up in the air, but something was giving him problems with his left leg. Now, he did have an Achilles injury a few months ago. It could have been that. It looked like he hyperextended his leg on his spin kick that he threw. The broadcast highlighted that, or it could have been from jumping. Yeah, because you're 280 pounds. You have no business jumping and slamming down on your fucking legs. You're going to blow out an ACL. And he kind of did. Speaking of blowing out an ACL, we'll get to that later. But yeah, Chris Barnett just had absolutely nothing for Kennedy Nzechukwu on the feet at all. Threw a couple of left hands that got through, but nothing really landed clean. Threw up a big wheel kick, pretty close to landing, but didn't. And then, you could see the grimace on Chris Barnett's face. His leg was damaged, and Kennedy Nzechukwu just swarmed him. Big knee to the body, dropped Chris Barnett, and Kennedy Nzechukwu finished him with a couple of ground and pound shots after. It says victory by knee here, though, so I did actually predict that exactly right. That's pretty cool. Moving up to middleweight, Abus Magomedov took on Bruno Ferreira. This fight was fucking awesome. I picked Abus Magomedov. I said he would probably get a late TKO, but he said, no, Luke, we have to fuck up your exactly correct prediction streak, and I'm going to get a late sub instead. But this was a sick fucking fight. There was a lot of back and forth action in this fight. Let me check the notes here. Round one, I had Abus being very patient and feinting really well, and he was doing that. Round one, Abus Magomedov looked really fucking good on the feet. And he was also able, in the second round, he took a big knockdown, or not a knockdown, because they don't credit Bruno with a knockdown, but he hurt Abus very badly on the feet with a huge shot, and Abus was able to survive a very dangerous position with a very powerful guy, and he was able to mix in his grappling very well. Bruno Ferreira was not able to stop the takedowns very much at all, and Abus Magomedov was able to fight his way back in the round, and in the third round, I was kind of worried for Abus. I was like, I don't know how he's going to look after taking all that damage. He might crumple. But he came out there and he fought a hard third round. He got the takedowns he needed to. He got a takedown, looked up at the clock. It was about 2 minutes left. He shot another one. Bruno Ferreira, no resistance. Like I said, by the way, I said the later this fight goes, Abus Magomedov is going to have an easier time taking down Bruno Ferreira. So that was also true. But that time he took him down and he locked in that arm triangle and Bruno Ferreira was forced to tap. It was a really fun fight, real back and forth. Abus Magomedov showing folds into his game. He looked really good this fight, honestly. He looked good on the feet. He mixed it up well against a guy who's pretty fucking strong and generally has okay takedown defense in Bruno Ferreira. And he finished him. Good win for Abus Magomedov. I think he's getting better and better the more experience he's getting in the UFC. The first fight I got wrong here. Moving up to catchweight, 160. Matus Rebecky took on Miktabik Orolbai. Guys, this fight was fucking awesome. If there was a pick on the prelims that I was content with getting wrong, like a fight I was content with getting wrong, it was this fight. I picked Orolbai by decision. We didn't get it. Matus got the split. I don't think it should have been split, though, in my opinion. I thought Matus Rebecky clearly won. But yeah, this fight was an absolute war. In round one, Rebecky won that round because basically it was a back and forth round where they were pretty even in the striking. But the big story of this fight really was that Matus Rebecky landed a shot on Miktabik Orolbik's eye and completely swole that shit almost shut. I saw it in the first round and I was like, fuck, dude, the doctors are going to stop this because this thing looks so bad. But they didn't, and the fight kept going. So Matus Rebecky got round one, I think just based on damage. They landed a similar amount of shots, but that eye was completely swollen. So on visible damage, you've got to give the round to Rebecky. And then the doctor came in and looked at the eye, let Orolbai fight. Orolbai goes out there, and he wins the second round, man. He outstruck him. He was trying to work the grappling a little bit, but largely he just kind of found his timing and outstruck Rebecky on the feet. I think Orolbai did pretty good in round 2 and showed a good account of himself. And I thought at that point, after he had won the round 2, I was like, okay, my Orolbai decision is probably going to hit. I'm probably going to be right, unless something insane happens, because Rebecky generally is a guy who tends to gas out, and he was looking very gassed at the end of that second round. He looked dead to rights, but third round, Rebecky comes out there, lands a absolute fucking shit rocket on Magomedov Orolbai's chin, drops him bad. I do not know how Orolbai survived. This fight was a absolute fucking bloodbath war in that third round. It was crazy. I literally just wrote Orolbai is a demon. That's what I wrote on this sheet of paper. I could not believe he was able to fight his way out of the position he was in. Mateusz Rebecki had knocked him down, had him pretty much crucifixed, and was just landing elbows on his fucking face. With his eye already swollen shut, his nose was exploded, busted open. And Orolbai, he's an actual fucking caveman. He just simply got up, and in the last minute or two of the fight, he was up on his feet. He was getting a takedown on Mateusz Rebecki. He was landing the better shots on the feet at the end of the third round. But Mateusz Rebecki had banked way too much damage in the first half, first 3 quarters, basically, of that third round. So it was a Mateusz Rebecki, I think, rounds 1 and 3 victory. I think that was the correct scorecard. But Magomedov Orolbai showed an insane amount of heart, an insane amount of will to win. And it was an absolutely awesome fight. Oh, man. Moving up to welterweight, Jeff Neal took on RDA. Yeah, I kind of saw this one coming. I thought Jeff Neal could go to a decision with RDA, mostly because I just thought RDA's a very crafty veteran. He's been to decisions with a lot of high-level welterweights, even though he's undersized. So he might be able to extend this fight. Jeff Neal looked really good, though, on the feet. Landed big shots, hurt Rafael really bad with the shot, dropped him, and Rafael got up. But that's not how the finishing sequence happened. Rafael dos Anjos took a bad backward step, and it looks like he completely blew out his ACL or something in his knee. Completely exploded. Fell backwards in pain, grabbing his knee. On his 40th birthday, man. That fucking sucks. It sucks for RDA, and it sucks for Jeff Neal, too, because he was looking incredible in this fight. His hands were looking great. He was landing really good shots on RDA. And RDA is not a super easy guy to land a lot of shots on with the boxing, really. Jeff Neal looked really good, and it sucks to have that win kind of like a little bit of a cloud over that win just because RDA's knee fucking exploded. But I think largely Jeff Neal would have won the fight anyways. He looked to be in great shape, so it's a good win for Jeff Neal. Unfortunate for RDA. Hate to see it. This fight was fucking stupid. Ibo Alsan versus Rafael Sequeira. I picked Rafael Sequeira because I thought he would throw a punch. He did not. He must have thought we were at I don't know, the Olympic curling championship or something. Not a fucking cage fight. I literally wrote Ibo retards in, Rafael stands still and takes punches. Those were my notes on this fight. Basically, Ibo Alsan landed a shot on Rafael, and then he just put up his guard and just backed up against the cage, and he's like, all right, let me have it. And then Ibo Alsan just hits the heavy bag for 25 seconds and finishes this guy. Yeah, this guy's just a regional warrior, regional scene warrior. This guy sucks balls. Good win for Ibo Alsan. Another knockout. I'm pretty sure all this guy's wins are by fucking knockout. The guy's a beast. Moving up to the main card. Sharbutin Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. I picked Sharbutin Magomedov. I thought he would win a decision in a technical kickboxing matchup. And he got a TKO in late in round 2 in a technical kickboxing matchup. This fight was fucking sick. First round was an insane round. Just really high output from both guys. Both guys landing their shots. 50-50 round, honestly. I kind of lean Armen round 1 a little bit. Live is kind of what I thought. I thought he was landing a couple of better shots than Magomedov. I believe he had him hurt in round 1. But I wrote down in round 2, once round 2 started, I said Shara is starting to find his timing. And he was. He was landing good shots with the hands. More so, he was a lot more effective with his hands than I thought he would be. I thought he'd be more effective with the kicks, obviously. And his kicks were still there. He was throwing a ton of kicks at Petrosian trying to keep him guessing, and he was finding his timing with his side kick as well. But largely the hands were what was catching Armen Petrosian. And Shara Magomedov was landing good shots when Petrosian was trying to initiate and make contact on the feet, and Magomedov was catching him as he was coming in. But what I did not see coming, right after I said Shara finds timing in round 2, in all caps, I have written just what the fuck. Because Shara Magomedov throws a fucking back fist. It doesn't land. It's completely blocked by Petrosian. And he says, what if I do the move so nice, I've got to throw it twice. And he throws it with the other side and just flatlines Petrosian. I could not fucking believe it. I could not believe it. The double back fist. The fucking whirling dervish. He not fucking awesome finish for Shara Magomedov. Against his best opponent so far. Petrosian's no fucking joke. Like, the guy's got to win over Gregory Rodriguez. Like, he's a fucking beast. That's a hell of a knockout for a guy with one eyeball, by the way. Just give this guy strikers. This Magomedov, dude, just give him strikers, please. This fight was awesome. Really high-level stuff. Great win for Shara Magomedov. Insane finish. Yeah. Moving up to featherweight, Lerone Murphy took on Dan 50K Ige. This fight was also pretty fucking fun. This fight had some drama in it. I have written down even in the first until Ige knockdown. I said Lerone was looking sharp, but Dan is too dangerous. And that is true. Lerone Murphy got caught. He was looking really good in the first round. I said Lerone Murphy would win by decision, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. He looked really good in this fight. Was keeping a really nice striking range with Dan Ige, but he made a mistake. I wrote down he overheated, and he did. He was feeling himself a little bit too much on the feet because he could land on Dan Ige, and he decided to commit with some really big shots. And honestly, my thing is, if Lerone Murphy was going to lose this fight, it was going to be because he went power shot for power shot with Dan Ige. And he decided to go power shot for power shot with Dan Ige. And he paid the fucking price for it. He ate an absolute missile and got knocked down bad. I thought Dan Ige was going to finish him in that first round. But Lerone Murphy was able to stay composed, find his feet, and finish out that round. And the next 2 rounds, Lerone Murphy put on a really good technical performance. On the feet in round 2, he was very composed, landing the better shots on the feet. Dan Ige was starting to slow down a little bit in this round. Looked like he just really couldn't find anything on Lerone Murphy. Also, one thing I want to mention is Dan Ige was mixing up his wrestling a lot in this matchup, which I didn't expect from him. I thought if anybody was going to really do that, it would have been Lerone Murphy. Dan Ige looked good in his wrestling. Obviously, Lerone Murphy got more takedowns because he's more of a wrestler than Ige is. But I was surprised with Dan Ige's grappling. It didn't look too shabby. But yeah, Lerone Murphy outstruck Dan Ige the second round pretty clear. And then the third round, more of the same. Lerone Murphy was looking much better on the feet, but Dan Ige did get a takedown on Lerone Murphy and burned about 2 minutes. But the thing was, Dan Ige didn't do anything with that takedown. He probably could have won that third round if he just did something, like threw any strikes, went for a submission, anything. And those 2 minutes, basically, he had Lerone Murphy down. But honestly, closer to 3 minutes. But they had some really nice scrambles in that third round. Lerone Murphy get back up. Dan Ige would try and get him back to the ground. Lerone Murphy would reverse it. But at the end of the round, Lerone Murphy got up. I think it was like the final 40 seconds or something. And him and Dan Ige just banged it out. But in those exchanges, in that last few seconds, Lerone Murphy was landing big shots. A huge knee on Dan Ige. Actually had Dan Ige. It looked like Dan Ige was pretty hurt on the feet. And I think the striking, the damage he did in the start of round 3 and at the end got him this fight largely over Dan Ige. I like the cards. The cards were good. I think Lerone Murphy won that fight rounds 2 and 3 for sure over Dan Ige. Oh boy. Moving up to light heavyweight, Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. I picked Alexander Rakic because I thought the line on this fight was disgustingly insulting. And it was. Like Magomed Ankalaev, I think he's good. I think he's good. I think he should fight for the belt. He did not look minus 400 in this fight. You're smoking dick. Because he clearly lost the first round. And Rakic clearly lost the third round. And the second round I gave to Ankalaev. I just thought, even though the rounds were very close on strikes, I think they had Rakic outstriking Ankalaev in rounds 1 and 3. and they were dead even on strikes in round two. Magomed Ankalaev, I think, landed the more powerful shots. No guy was ever really hurt at all in this entire fight. But Ankalaev threw the left straight a bunch, and that was largely the fight I think that gave the judges the visual to give Ankalaev the rounds that he won, which were 2 and 3, or they should have been 2 and 3. But yeah, Rakic looked good in round one. I mean, he was honestly kind of. I mean, I watched that round one. I was like, fuck, if he doesn't slow down, he can do this for 3 rounds easy. Because he was chewing off the legs of Magomed Ankalaev, blasting high kicks into his left arm to try and slow down that left straight that Magomed throws. But I think his coaches did him a disservice, man, by telling him he was up 2 rounds on the stool. He was not up 2 rounds on the stool, and I picked him. So if anybody was going to cope, it was going to be me. I was like, well, he's not up 2 rounds. It's 1-1. You need to have him go out there and try and find a finish or at least win this round. And if he had more urgency in that 3rd round, he would have won this fucking fight. And I would have looked like the world's smartest man. So I'm pissed about it. Yeah, I think his coaches did him a serious disservice, though. It was a razor close fight. It was quite boring, as I kind of figured it would be. Magomed landed some left straights that kind of bloodied up the nose of Rakic. So because they were so dead even at everything, he wins, I guess. He does deserve a title shot, though. I'm not even going to fucking pretend like he doesn't, you know? But Yuri finished him quicker. And, well, you didn't finish him. Yuri finished him. Moving up to the co-main event, guys, I want to perish. Robert Whitaker took on Khamzat Chimaev. I picked Robert Whitaker because I thought he could make it out of the first round. He couldn't. It was looking good for a little bit. Robert Whitaker was defending a lot of the grappling advances that Chimaev was making for the most part, trying to scramble up to his feet pretty well. He was looking good in the grappling defense, honestly. But something I wrote, the only note I took on this, I just wrote not sure what Rob tapped to in that moment. Basically, Chimaev had his right leg hooked, and he went for just like a half-assed rear naked choke, just like a face crank, like it was on the chin. And the second Khamzat locked his hands, Rob just goes, he just immediately taps. I was like, that's fucking weird. That's weird. But apparently he had like dislocated or broken his jaw or something. I think with the face crank maybe, or dislocated his jaw, so he tapped. I get that. Great win for Khamzat Chimaev. Really impressive performance. He actually looked like a minus 250 favorite there. But if he was going to win, he was going to look like a minus 250 favorite. But yeah, I picked Whitaker by decision just because I thought if he could last the first round, I think he could begin to find some success. But he couldn't outlast the first round, so Khamzat Chimaev does what he does sometimes, and he gets that first round submission. Really impressive win for him. I would rather Khamzat fight for the belt than Strickland outright. I'll say that right now. I'd rather see Khamzat Dricus because I just want to see how Dricus meme KOs him, to be honest. I just want to see how that happens. Or meme submits him. Like, does he just fall on top of him and knock him out? I don't know. Does he fucking... I don't know. I think that's a more fun fight than Strickland Duplessis too, honestly. And I mean, Khamzat Chimaev beating Whitaker in round 1 is more impressive than anything Sean Strickland has done since dropping the belt. So honestly, give him the fight as far as I'm concerned. Great win for Chimaev, honestly. Moving up to the main event, Ilia Topuria took on Max Holloway. I had a really good, honestly, breakdown of this fight, I feel like. I picked Ilia Topuria. I think I picked him by decision. I don't remember actually what I said. But I said that this guy, he's not just a striker. He has a very nice takedown, too. And he showed us that. He showed us that in the first round. I mean, he took Max Holloway down like he was absolutely nothing in the first round. And another thing I mentioned, I brought up the fact that Ilia Topuria has a really underrated leg kick game. He was going leg kick for leg kick with Volkanovski very well. And I noticed that. And I was like, well, Holloway's got kind of a weakness to that lead low kick. And Topuria was absolutely chopping his legs off. But in this fight, it was very competitive up until the end. It was a very high level competitive fight. Round 1 I had going to Max. Max Holloway was just working him. I think personally, he had his timing kind of from the get-go, and he was staying pretty safe. Despite Ilia getting the takedowns, he kind of looked a little bit unsure in round 1 of what he wanted to do. Because he would get a takedown, Holloway would pop back up. He'd get a takedown, Holloway pop back up. He'd throw a couple of low kicks, but largely Max Holloway was finding his jab and kind of keeping Topuria at the end of his range. He was mixing it up really well with kicks, body kicks, some kicks to the head. Good first round for Max Holloway. I scored that round for him. Round 2, I scored for Ilia Topuria. Ilia Topuria, I just thought, once again, they were like, Max Holloway was throwing more volume and landing with more volume, but I gave the round to Topuria just because the shots being landed on Holloway were so much more powerful, because it's just Max Holloway's a guy who kind of peppers you with shots, and then he'll commit on a big one. Everything Ilia Topuria throws is just kind of a big shot. So when they're even like that on striking numbers, relatively speaking, I scored it for Ilia just because I thought his shots were closer to ending the fight. Like on another fighter, they would have been slept by some of the shots Ilia Topuria was landing, like those big right hands on Holloway's chin. And in the third round, the only note I took is that I just wrote Max is dead in all caps. I don't know if you see that. Ilia Topuria caught Max Holloway with a big right hand, wobbled him bad. Max's eyes rolled up into his head and he backed up against the cage. And in my breakdown, I said, if you go up against the cage with Ilia Topuria, you're fucking dead. You cannot be up against the cage with this guy. He will set you up and he will sleep you. And that's largely what he did. Ripped a couple of shots to the body and then ripped a vicious left hook. Landed clean on Holloway's chin. Sent him just jettisoning towards the fucking canvas at like Mach 10. And then Ilia drops a couple of strikes to ground and pound, and Mark Goddard stops it, man. And Ilia Topuria becomes the first man to knock out Max Holloway in history. You know, that fucking crazy performance from this guy. His ceiling is insanely high. He is 27 years old, and he has KO'd Alexander Volkanovski and Max Holloway back to back. Fucking insane. I can't believe how good this dude is. And he fought a good version of Holloway, too. Holloway looked sharp. He looked turned on. He looked locked the fuck in for this fight. But it just takes one from Ilia Topuria, man. It really fucking does. Unbelievable performance from both guys. Especially Ilia, man. Because I didn't think he would knock him out. I think he would hurt Max. I thought he would hurt Max on the feet. Get him up against the cage and hurt him. I didn't think he would sleep him. He didn't sleep him completely, but Max was... I mean, those ground and pound shots, Max's eyes weren't quite right. And you saw him kind of like wake back up at the end of that stoppage. But yeah, that was UFC 308, guys. It was a really fucking fun card. From start to finish, basically. We had a lot of fucking bangers. Yeah, this card delivered super well. And we did good on picks too. I can't complain. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my recap and breakdown. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to subscribe. We're almost 100, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.